Hi, everyone. Happy Monday, and welcome to the Northern Kentucky Spotlight podcast powered by C Crew. I'm your host, Sarah Brookbank. Today on the podcast, we are joined by Crystal Wilmhoff of Honeysuckle House Residential Assisted Living and Memory Care. She talks about their care options and what's going on with the project. And Nancy Spivey is joined by Cassie Barlow of the Strategic Ohio Council for Higher Education, and they talk about building a workforce strategy for your organization. Thank you to our podcast sponsors, C Crew, Google and Amazon advertising experts, and Schneller Knockelman. September's Business Council meetings are right around the corner. On Thursday, September 18th, the Florence Business Council will host How to Attract and Retain the Right Talent at Turfway Park. On Tuesday, September 23rd, Newport Business Council is hosting a business social at Bourbon House Pizza. And the Fort Thomas Business Council will bring the Resource Roundtable discussions to the Fort Thomas Council chambers on Thursday, September 25th. You can learn more about all of these events at nkychamber.com/events or nkychamber.com/business-councils. Now let's go meet our members of the week, hear from our sponsors, and Nancy and I will be back with this week's guests.
Ranking on Google Search and Maps is easy to understand, but hard to do. It requires constant effort and attention, uploading new photos, responding to Google reviews, writing weekly posts, and checking suggested updates. Google listing optimization takes experience and time, and there are no shortcuts. C Crew gives your Google My Business account the steady, consistent attention it needs to be effective, optimizing, updating, and expanding critical content every single week. From local retail stores to large regional networks, C Crew generates content, establishes benchmarks, and creates dramatic, measurable increases in engagement. So what can C Crew do for your business? More calls, more clicks, more clients.
Congratulations to our members of the week. You can learn more about these businesses by following the Northern Kentucky Chamber on social media, where we highlight one of these businesses each day. Now, let's meet our members of the week. ATEC Training was founded with the desire to develop products that aid instructors in presenting a hands-on approach to teaching and learning skills of diagnosing and repairing vehicles. Bob and Harry's Garage is a flea repair shop that has been servicing customers' equipment since 1941. The Southgate House Revival is an independently owned and operated live music venue and event center housed in a beautifully restored historic church built in 1866. For more than a century, Mount St. Joseph has inspired its students to think beyond the classroom and extend the limits of what's possible. Operating since August 2024 in Sycamore Township, Synesis Container Services hands sort and recycle materials, ensuring that non-recyclable items are responsibly processed at local waste centers. Hi, everyone. Today I am joined by Crystal Wilmhoff, founder of Honeysuckle House Residential Assisted Living and Memory Care. Crystal, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's great to have you. I did have to look down at my notes for the name of your organization, but Honeysuckle House. Tell us about you guys. Tell us about your background.
So I am a nurse practitioner by trade, and I worked for 23 years in women's health, and so I've always kind of cared for people. I'm the oldest girl. My dad passed away when I was 31, and he was an only child, and so we started helping out with my granny. She came and stepped in and kind of took his place, and when she was like 90 or so, I started going every few months to Virginia to help take care of her, and then with having a family here, it just became kind of too much. She was needing more care, so we decided to move her in, so I became her full-time caregiver. I stopped working and did that, and it was an incredible year and a half, like the memories that we made, but it really opened my eyes to the need for seniors, just with help activities of daily living.
Yeah, and that's something I know a lot of people are getting that we call it, like, what is it, the sandwich generation,
Yes.
where you're caring for your children and you're caring for your parents, or in your case, a grandparent.
Right.
Yeah, so tell us about Honeysuckle House and what you guys are doing. You guys, I understand, are in the process of building your facility, so tell us a little bit about what's going on.
So when my granny came and lived with me, I did look in the area for memory care facilities because she did need that. And I just really couldn't find somewhere that made me comfortable. They were beautiful, but when I started really looking at the caregiver ratio and understanding what it took to care for her, I just was like, I cannot leave her there. I know I can do better. And so what I came across was residential assisted living. And residential assisted living is a home environment The caregiver ratio is usually 1 to 6, 1 to 8. So just more one-on-one care. So we have got the plans, we've got the land, we have the SBA financing, we have all of that set up. We are just in the process of raising the money so that we can break ground.
Yeah, and that's a really exciting place to be right now. Tell us a little bit about this facility that you guys are going to be building. You just showed me the plans, so kind of walk us through it.
So they're two 8,100 square foot homes. They are 16 private bedrooms, private bathrooms. There'll be 0 entry showers, a little bit wider hallways, a little bit wider doorways. So everything is senior friendly. The whole, the lighting system, everything that we've done has 0 transitions anywhere, so no trip hazards, things like that. We'll have an oven that's a convection oven, so it just cuts off if you take a pot off, so there's no way to burn. Just lots of safety features, but there's communal living and a beautiful courtyard in between, so that way it's secured. They can go outside. We plan to have raised gardens. We plan to have tower gardens inside to grow food. So the whole thing is a home.
Mm-hmm.
Hospice can come in, physical therapy can come in, occupational therapy, all of that. So the plan is this will be potentially their final home,
Mm-hmm.
but it is their home.
Yeah, and that's a big piece. I know I mentioned my grandmother is currently looking at options as she is getting older. There are a lot of differences between like an independent living, assisted living, and memory care. So for people that might not be as well versed, tell us a little bit about the differences and then the offerings that you guys will have.
Okay, so as far as independent living, that's usually seniors that are in a community that they don't want to deal with like the landscape, the outside kind of stuff. So they come and go as they please. There's some activities and amenities and things like that, like on site. For assisted living, that just means they need a little bit of help with some of their activities of daily living. So that's bathing, ambulating, feeding, toileting, things like that. When you get into the memory care, it means that the person may be physically able to care for themselves, but they're not remembering to take their medication. They're
Mm-hmm.
not really eating properly, things like that. So what we're offering is kind of for end of life. The average age is usually around 87 years old. They're not driving anymore when they come to us. Some of them are wheelchair bound, and they just need help. They just need help with every single day, having stimulation, because that's sometimes an issue, is that older adults, as their memory kind of goes, their world kind of shrinks and they don't go out, they don't get that stimulation, and we know that makes it worse.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and that's really valuable, like you said, being able to be there and provide that stimulation and the everyday assistance. And you mentioned in the form that you fill out before you come to the podcast that your mission behind this is obviously your life experience and living with your grandma. Tell us a little bit about how that's driving you and your core values.
So we really wanted to have a home that is faith-based, that service is one of our core values, because we feel like everything comes from that. So excellence, empathy, all of those things are wonderful to have, but you really should come with a heart that's to serve. So that's what we plan to have. We actually will have a little chapel area in both, so that people can worship if they choose, and we can have outside priests or preachers come in if they would like to do services for our seniors.
Oh, that's awesome. And that's another thing that I think is probably making you guys stand out as you're looking at the competition in the area. Obviously, a lot of different senior living facilities are popping up in the area. What else do you think makes you guys kind of stand out?
So I think that definitely that caregiver ratio is a huge difference. So a lot of times people, when they go, if you ask about the caregiver ratio, they sometimes will include the people that clean, the people that are cooking, things like that. We actually are talking about the one person, that's all that they do is caregive. So ours is 1 to 6 to 1 to 8, depending on the day. And we will have a salon. Like I said, those services can come in: physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, all those things that help to keep people mobile longer, being able to swallow longer, all of those things, so they can stay in our home. What else? We have, I talked about the chapel. The courtyard, I think, is going to be amazing. There'll be a water feature. There'll be potentially walking paths. We plan to have little mailboxes out there, because that's something that people have always done, is go and check the mail. So we plan to have some mail go back and forth in there. So the caregivers will be sitting with the seniors, eating with them. So it's a family kind of environment versus a kind of a revolving door that sometimes happens at the bigger facilities.
Yeah, so keeping people there, like you said, hopefully their final place and a home that they can kind of grow in as they age. One of the things that you also wanted to talk about is the idea of the silver tsunami. What is this? What do people need to know?
So the silver tsunami is the baby boomers are aging into this, and the oldest of the baby boomers they turned 85 this year. So there's another 20 to 30 years of increasing numbers of people over 65 that are going to need help. Um, three out of every, excuse me, sorry, 7 out of every 10 of people over 65 will need some sort of help with their activities of daily living. So it's a huge need. And the issue is there's a care gap that's developing. Back in, I believe it was like 2012, there was about 7 family members to take care of each senior. Fast forward to 2030, and it's under 3. And that's just because of the way that the birth rates and things have happened, both people working. So yeah, it's just going to be a huge need.
Yeah, so you guys are obviously in this really growing market. So when you're looking towards the future, what are you kind of anticipating?
So I am anticipating that we get this home, these 2 homes in Fort Mitchell. Then I would really love to start looking at, potentially Campbell County, Boone County. Northern Kentucky doesn't have residential assisted living. We are sending our seniors over across the river to northern Cincinnati. And we all know that if you don't have to cross that river, you don't. And so as far as families visiting and things like that, it just, to me, is such a disservice to our seniors in this area.
Yeah, and so you guys are really providing a valuable service here in the area. We're excited to see things kick off the ground at Honeysuckle House. But Crystal, it's been so great to have you. Before I let you leave today, is there anything else you think our viewers and listeners need to know? And then how can people get in contact with you?
So I just want to put it out there that I am happy to be a resource for anybody that needs help with someone who is going through brain change. There are so many resources out there, but sometimes it's very overwhelming when you're going through it and you feel alone. So I have been compiling all of this information, so I'm happy to share any of that. If people want to be part of this senior housing solution, there are ways that they can get involved also. So the best way to reach me is info@honeysucklehouse.ral.com or my cell, which is 513-262-6180.
All right. Well, Crystal, thank you so much for coming on today. It's been absolutely a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hi, I'm Nancy Spivey, Vice President of Talent Strategies. And on the podcast today, I'm talking with Cassie Barlow. Cassie, you're with Sochi, correct? Tell us what Sochi stands for.
I am. Thank you so much for the invitation to join you today. So SOCHI stands for the Strategic Ohio Council for Higher Education.
And certainly we love having you as a member of the Northern Kentucky Chamber of Commerce. And my understanding is there was a recent merger with our friends from Greater Cincinnati College Consortium. Help me understand kind of the new dynamic now.
Absolutely. So let me give you a little bit of background on SOCHI first, if that's okay. So we're a nonprofit consortium of colleges and universities. We are getting ready to celebrate our 59th year.
Wow.
And had several members of our organization already in Cincinnati. So we had University of Cincinnati and Cincinnati Tech, and have really been working very closely with many of the high schools in Cincinnati already. So when we started talking about merger, it just totally made sense. Let's make our work more collaborative across the entire region, and add in the GC3 schools as well, to include our Northern Kentucky schools as well. So now we are a consortium of 33 colleges and universities across the state, and including Kentucky, as I mentioned, and are just really happy to be able to broaden the economic impact really across the region.
Well, and you're speaking my language, because I live and breathe talent here inside the Northern Kentucky Chamber of Commerce, and we work with our 1,750 employers to help them, connect with available workforce populations and help them connect with resources available to help in the fight for talent these days. So, tell me, what are some tricks of the trades that you would suggest to companies looking to build a strong workforce strategy?
So I'm so glad you asked that question because that's what I wake up every day thinking about. So we are all struggling with the same thing from an employer perspective. And when I talk with employers, I encourage them to think as broad as possible in terms of their workforce strategy. What are the pockets of employees, potential employees that are available to them? And let's talk about high school students, right? Let's talk about juniors and seniors in high school who are looking for their occupation. They're trying to discern what is right for me. So starting with that group, how can we help those students understand what is right for them and maybe give them an opportunity for an internship to try it out? And who knows, they may fall in love and know this is where I want to be, and they graduate from high school and they've got a simple step into a full-time job. So that's an option. We also have a plethora of college students, hundreds of thousands of college students in our region. We are so blessed with that. And students in all different occupational specialties. So that's another option to step into, to include in a workforce strategy, to make sure that our college students feel welcome in our region, make sure that they know that they have opportunities in our region and that they get to try them out. Same sort of thing. They can do an internship and then graduate from college and stay with us. So those are two sort of ways that you can tap into an existing resource within the region. But I would say too, we have employees that are in existing businesses that are looking for upskilling. So, and a lot of opportunity for upskilling through partnerships with our colleges and universities. So, taking care of your existing resources, knowing that how hard it is to recruit a new resource. So, that's another option. And then there's other groups of people that we can't forget. So, for instance, every year there's about 200,000 people who are getting out of the military around the world.
Mhm.
We would love for them to come be with us, right, in our region. So, how do we attract them to our region? And there's a wonderful, wonderful program called the Department of Defense Skill Bridge program
Mhm.
that allows us to partner with the Department of Defense and recruit transitioning military members to our region. So I would say that's a great option for us as well. We also have people who maybe are getting close to retirement, but they're not yet ready to retire. And companies could be thinking about what can we do to help these employees stay with us? Maybe they don't want to work full time. Maybe they only want to work part time. So what do we need to do to help them stay with us? Maybe we need to look at part-time hours for them. We also have new Americans coming to our region. How can we engage them? We also have re-entered citizens. How do we engage them and get them into the workforce? And certainly last but absolutely not least is people with disabilities. How do we take a look at what we need in our companies, and how do we make room for people with disabilities? Maybe look at our workforce strategy and try to figure out how can we incorporate all of these groups to be able to tap fully into the people that are employable within our region.
So in my mind, as you're talking through this, I really like the fact that you've segmented. So if I'm an employer, I'm looking at, okay, there's the student population. What strategy can I build to bring them into my workforce or to keep them in my workforce? Same with the current workforce, same with the veteran population, individuals with disabilities. So I really enjoy kind of thinking holistically about that. I will say that our regional workforce collective group, the NKY Works group that I'm a part of, we've identified that work-based learning is a priority for our community because, as many of us reflect back on our own career journey, if you don't know what jobs are available in the community and you haven't had exposure, you tend to, migrate around and try to figure it out on your own. But Northern Kentucky and the Cincinnati region is so robust and so diverse that we need to expose students early on to career opportunities and to get them exposed to the employers that are here. If we're recruiting new talent to the region, they need to know all that we offer, and the people that are right here in our own backyard, many of them are not aware of all the opportunities that exist. So help me align like what we do as a chamber with what Sochi does and how you can assist the employers we serve.
Absolutely. I love it. So it sounds like we are absolutely of the same mind, basically. We are of like mind, trying to engage our current citizens, whether those are students or, older adults in our workforce. So how do we best do that? And how do we tell them through a workforce strategy that we are open to everyone? We are open to engaging with everyone. Well, there's a lot of ways to do that. And I think through your programming in our community, there's wonderful, wonderful outreach that occurs with our employers, I would say. And Northern Kentucky Works does a fantastic job in connecting with employers and also in connecting with schools. So what I would say is where Sochi can come in and assist is with the businesses who maybe have, a half a resource in human resources, or maybe don't have a human resources person
Great.
at all, or, somebody that can, so Sochi can come in and help with, first of all, finding who are the potential employees in your area, to help you connect with. And specifically, let's talk students, right? So if you're a manufacturing company, right, and you need CNC operators, okay, so let's start there. We know your need. We then can go to career tech schools, we can go to traditional schools, and we can help you find the resource that you need. We can present you with resumes and help you hire those students. So you're not having to do the I-9s and the work permits and all of that stuff on your own. You've got a partner in
That's
doing
great.
that for you. And then we're helping to do professional development with the student at the same time. We hear all the time from employers about the soft skills that are required of students. We get it. We totally get it. We know that students need to know how to communicate. They need to know how to work on a team. And there's many other soft skills that we work on with our students. So when we're handing them off to you, they are a full up round and they are ready to go. And you just plug and play. And of course, there's obviously a little bit of mentoring and coaching required to get them up to speed. But we have students all over the region who are working in the example that I gave you as CNC operators, helping our manufacturing companies get the job done every single day. And that's just one small example of how we can help make some connections.
Well, I just want to thank you again for being that resource. And, to me, there's so much the employer community is dealing with these days. And so being able to have access to the regional colleges and universities through one central portal is certainly, something I would have valued back in the day. So thank you.
Yeah, it's sort of that one-stop shop idea where, oftentimes employers tell me, I don't have time to go to all of these career fairs. I just don't have time. And I'm like, okay, I get it. I get it. So you want a list of NKU students, you want a list of Thomas More students, you want a list of UC students, of Xavier students, Cincinnati Tech. Got it. We can get those for you, all of them.
That's great.
And then that way you can choose, what best meets your needs at the time.
Great. Anything that I've forgotten to ask? Anything you want to add?
I think the most important thing, Nancy, is that we are just super excited to be engaged in Northern Kentucky and in Cincinnati, and to get more engaged. So, however we can help, if you need us to come to events to talk, or whatever you need us to do, please consider us, as we are on the bench, we are on the team,
and we
just
need you.
tell us when to go in, right? And we'll take the
Exactly.
3-pointers, just let us know what you need and we are happy to help.
All right, great. Wonderful talking to you. Have a great afternoon.
You too. Thanks, Nancy.
Uh-huh.
Chris Knockelman with Schneller Knockelman Plumbing, Heating, and Air. It's spring now, but before you know it, our ACs are working overtime.
Dave, it's going to be warm soon.
Right now is a good time to get the AC serviced, right?
You can get your AC tuned up for only $59.
So get your $59 tune-up at
SKPHA.com. SKPHA. So if your plumbing and mechanical systems give you trouble, just remember our name, Schneller Knockelman.
Northern Kentucky needs tailored solutions to address our housing shortage. Home for All, Northern Kentucky Housing Strategies, explores how we can retain young adults, help older residents downsize or age in place, and ensure new neighbors have housing options that fit their lives. Dive into the report at housingNKY.org. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed hearing from Crystal and Cassie on today's episode of the podcast. And thank you once again to our podcast sponsors, C Crew, Google and Amazon advertising experts, and Schneller Knockelman. Like I said, we have a huge slate of upcoming Business Council events this week and next week. You can learn more about those and register at nkychamber.com/events. Finally, if you are a member who would like to be featured on the podcast, or if you're someone who is interested in joining the Northern Kentucky Chamber of Commerce, please reach out to Lynn Aplin. And if you're a member who would like to share your workforce strategies and resources on our Talent Strategies Spotlight, please reach out to Nancy Spivey. You can find their contact information on the screen if you're a viewer, and our listeners can find that at nkychamber.com at our staff directory. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll talk to you guys next week.